My name's Noel, I'm a psychotherapist. Welcome to my blog today, which is looking at thinking or irrational thinking or unhelpful thinking styles. There's various ways of talking about it. For some people it may be that the idea of thinking about your thinking comes as a new idea and maybe something that you're just trying to get your head around. But it's an essential component of becoming self-aware, is to be able to become aware of our own internal processes, so what's going on in terms of our thoughts and feelings, etc. Maybe people are more aware of the idea of tuning into their feelings and go, oh, what am I feeling now? That doesn't seem like an alien idea, but to sort of tune into one's thoughts and go, what am I thinking right now? And to have an awareness of those thoughts or a relationship to them may seem like an odd idea. But it's very common in therapy, it's very common in meditation, for example. It's very common to mindfulness, to become interested in one's own sort of thinking processes. And I'm going to sort of explore a way of using that idea of becoming more aware of the observer looking at rather than the person experiencing in this short blog, which is looking at the role of comparison in our lives. There's a sort of everyday saying which goes something like compare and despair. And then there's another one I've come across which I quite like, which is we compare our own insides to other people's outsides and obviously find ourselves wanting quite often. So those are sort of some common sense sayings that are around which indicate the scale of the problem that we have when it comes to comparison. Theodore Roosevelt called comparison the thief of joy, which is an interesting way of looking at it. So how can we deal with this idea of comparison? We look on social media, look on your Facebook wall, and somebody posts a picture, maybe a friend posts a picture of their perfect family on the beach and the children look really well behaved and everybody looks loving and all that sort of stuff. And I'm sure that's an aspect of their relationship, but of course it's not the totality of their relationship, and we look at that and make an assessment of what that means, uncritically, being unaware of our thinking. If we do that again and again and again, habit is forming. And we get into the habit of uncritically accepting our instantaneous sort of assessments of situations without looking at them in a more complex manner, and crucially without looking at them from the perspective of the observer, the person who is looking at it, i.e. oneself, and being in a sort of critical relationship to oneself, to sort of ask oneself the question, am I balanced in my thinking at the moment? Is my thinking based upon evidence? Have I tested the reality of this thought? It tends to be, I suppose, when something comes from inside, it has more weight and validity somehow. I'd encourage you to look at the website. There's an interesting sort of script that I've just gone way off at the moment because I'm quite interested in this subject, to sort of help you think about some of these ideas. But I'm going to carry on with this train of thought because I think this idea of becoming critically evaluating our own thinking processes is crucial to having a happy or unhappy life. Of course, material circumstances, real circumstances exist as well, but this way of becoming more of an observer to oneself actually allows us to make better decisions about that and to become more successful in those ways, as well as become more successful in the sense of valuing ourselves much more. So when we make this assessment of that photo on Facebook or somebody else, a colleague at work, we're accepting that uncritically from the stance of an internal perception of ourselves, where we're placing ourselves in a step down position rather than equal position, and muddying and having a complicated relationship to that. So I'm suggesting that what we can do is, rather than accept that thought critically, what we can do is we can take a step back from the thought and make a decision. Do I want to go with that thought, or would I like to choose another one? And get into a situation where, rather than comparing ourselves to other people, we're looking at ourselves and comparing ourselves to ourselves. A much more effective and healthy form of comparison in many levels is to compare ourselves to the person we were yesterday or a week ago or a year ago, and compare ourselves to our own internally generated sense of values, ethics and goals, and to become much more goal-oriented with ourselves, and to be setting ourselves targets not in relationship to other people but in relationship to our own personal growth, our own development and our own life goals, and to be focused upon that. What are the milestones for myself as opposed to in comparison to somebody else or keeping up with the Joneses. I'm really fascinated by this area of sort of human growth and development, and how one can step into a much more esteemable sense of self. Once we develop esteem for ourselves, we learn to become much more focused on the ability to take risks in our lives, allow things to change, let go of control, allow other people to be, bring the focus back to ourselves and think about how we're going to achieve our life's goals. We become more confident. But esteem is something greater than confidence. Esteem is facing our fears and taking action around them, or walking into those fears often. It can be a challenging way of living initially, but once you get used to it and reap the rewards of it in terms of an internal sense of solidity and safety and internal strength and the ability to assert oneself and develop goals, the rewards from that are huge, and I would encourage you to have a think about that. And practical steps for how to get there. If you want to know more about that and the practical steps, do get in touch. If you're struggling with a low sense of self-esteem in comparison to other people, which is really what it is. It's not that your life is worse, it's just that your life is different. And that you feel worse about it, and changing that perception of it can have an extraordinary impact on life. If you are struggling with that, do get in touch. I'd be happy to sort of talk through a plan with you to improve that esteem, look at what actions you can take in your life and what goals you can place there, and what emotional blocks that we have to overcome with you to help you achieve those goals. So do get in touch. It's 07 506 319 745. That's 07 506 319 745. Or email me info@noelmcdermott.net. I hope this has been useful. I went off script a little bit. Go to the website and have a read of the script I should have gone by, but I'm really passionate about this area of growth. Do get in touch if I can help. Do leave some commentary at the end of the video or on the website. I'd love to get your feedback to know whether these videos that I produce are useful or not, and how I can improve them and how I can improve the service to you. See you next time. Have a great day. Bye bye.